Nous nous trouvons aujourd'hui dans ce bel édifice qu'est la légation américaine à Tanger, où nous avons l'honneur d'être reçus par le nouvel ambassadeur américain, son Excellence Dwight Bush. L'honneur car c'est la toute première fois depuis sa confirmation en mars dernier qu'il accorde une interview à une télévision marocaine. Excellence, bonjour et merci.
Bonjour.
Excellency, as a new appointee to the office of ambassador to Morocco, what does the American legation symbolize for you?
Well, I'm particularly pleased that we're having this conversation at the American legation in Tangiers. This building is a manifestation of the long-standing, close bilateral relationship that we have with Morocco. As you know, we established diplomatic relationships in 1777. In 1786, we signed a peace treaty. In 1821, we were given this beautiful building. So I'm extraordinarily pleased to be here today.
How do you see the actual relations or bilateral relations between our two countries? Any opportunities to further strengthen these relations?
We have a very close, long-standing, rich relationship with Morocco, from having the only free trade agreement in effect that we have in Africa, to issues like counterterrorism, human rights, making sure that there is the development of economic infrastructure here. It is a very rich relationship, and I'm very proud to be serving our country here.
Morocco is a strategic partner for USA in the Middle East and North Africa region. What would you say about the Moroccan leadership concerning issues such as the Israeli-Palestinian conflict?
Well, I'm very pleased with the role that His Majesty King Mohammed VI has taken in a leadership role in trying to address that issue. More broadly, we work with Morocco on a range of issues in the region, and it's been a very strong partnership.
What about the role of Morocco as a non-NATO ally status in the regional stability and security, especially with the threats or terrorist threats within the Sahel region?
Well, the role of Morocco is very important. Morocco serves as very good partners with us on everything from counterterrorism to maintaining a regional force that addresses issues like terrorism. We have a very strong military partnership. We engage in a range of activities that are designed to thwart the impact of third parties that would like to do bad things in the region.
Excellency, how would you define the evolution of social and political reforms enhanced in Morocco in 2011?
Well, as you know, in 2011, Morocco instituted a new constitution with a series of reforms expected. I think a lot of progress has been made thus far. I think that there's clearly a commitment on the part of His Majesty and the Parliament to move forward with an agenda that makes Morocco more inclusive with respect to participation of all its people, that finds a way and a role for women to be more actively involved, that creates opportunities for Moroccans to be educated and become a part of the fabric of the growth of this great country.
Last November, His Majesty the King Mohammed VI met with President Obama in Washington. According to you, what does this visit symbolize?
Well, for me, I thought it was just a real validation and continuation of this very strong bilateral relationship that we have with Morocco. President Obama is totally committed to ensuring a lot of our primary goals and objectives around the world, and principally here in the Sahel region in Africa. And I think that what he was saying in that get-together was Morocco is a very strong, legitimate partner that we can work with effectively on a range of issues.
Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton once said, I quote, "Everywhere I go in the region and beyond, people ask me if they could have a free trade agreement and if they can have a Millennium Challenge grant like Morocco, and I tell everyone, we did not give that to Morocco. Morocco earned it." Any reactions, Your Excellency?
I know Secretary Clinton, and I would echo every part of that statement that she made. Morocco has, in fact, earned it. Morocco has been on a progressive path, certainly since His Majesty King Mohammed VI has been in power. They work very closely with us on a range of issues. We have a free trade agreement, and in fact, the only free trade agreement that we have in Africa, because the Moroccans have come to the table with ideas about trade that we believe can result in more education, economic opportunities here in Morocco, more growth, more stability, and hopefully Morocco stands as an example to the rest of the region for what can happen when you're on a progressive path.
What are the future steps for the strategic dialogue launched in 2012?
Well, as you know, we just conducted the second strategic dialogue meetings here, and the good news is that Secretary Kerry was here for that event, and he reinforced all the themes that are important to the United States and to Morocco as well. And some of those tenets are a real commitment to education, a real commitment to justice, commitments to trade balance and growth, commitments to education, and making sure that all the young people in Morocco have an opportunity to have rich jobs and experiences that allow them to contribute to the growth of this great country.
U.S. African Leaders Summit is to be held in Washington on August, namely investing in future generations. Beyond the bilateral cooperation between Morocco and the U.S., there's a new form of cooperation that is triangular, and namely between Morocco, USA, and Africa. Would you talk to us more about this triangular cooperation?
Sure. So first of all, let me say that I really think it's important that Morocco has been included in this Africa Summit that's taking place in August. I think once again President Obama has recognized that Morocco has a critical role to play in all of our activities on the continent. It's interesting that historically Morocco was considered more as a Saharan country and would have not been included in an activity like this. And since I've been in Morocco, Moroccans consistently speak of themselves first as being Africans. So it is totally appropriate and right that Morocco is included in this activity. I think that there's a range of engagements that Morocco can play a pivotal role in throughout the continent. And certainly I'm keenly aware of King Mohammed VI's vision for Morocco as a regional hub, as a partner for countries in sub-Saharan Africa that can benefit from the success, the investments that Morocco has made to date. So I think it is a very good and appropriate thing that's happening.
Let's get back to the free trade agreement. Would you define what are the strengths and challenges of such an important agreement?
Here's what I'll say about the free trade agreement. First of all, I'm a businessman by training and background, so one of the things that His Majesty and the leaders of government and industry and business should expect from me is that I engage very closely with them on developing the aspects of the free trade agreement. As you know, there is a concern that the free trade agreement has not benefited both countries equally, and so one of the things I will engage in is trying to identify ways to balance the free trade agreement. I think that on the plus side, that Morocco has a lot of products that would be very well received in the United States. I haven't had a friend ever come to Morocco and not go home without acquiring some beautiful artisan items. So the question is, how do we leverage what's being created here in a meaningful way so that it can be exported to the United States? Likewise, there are agricultural products that I think are very attractive that will be very well received in the United States. I think that some of the challenge that Morocco has is making sure that we have enough trained workers who can provide the sort of services and support of the industry that could be exported. And also we need to make sure that we have in place a business infrastructure that is transparent and that allows business people to quickly get on with their business.
Any investment opportunities for U.S. companies?
Yes, absolutely. I think that there are a lot of companies that are interested. There are private equity investment companies that are looking very closely as things evolve to see if there is an opportunity for private sector engagement.
Why do you think that Morocco is profitable for a U.S. company?
Well, I think that there are a couple of things. One is you have an economy that has a lot of consumers, and consumers that are moving towards middle class sort of situation. And therefore, I think that they find the American products to be well-priced, high-quality, good sound products, good brands that they all hear about on television, radio, and in the movies and elsewhere. So there is an identification of U.S. products with quality, and I don't think that gets worse. I think that improves as more Moroccans get good-paying jobs and look for ways to improve the quality of their lives.
What are the concrete actions to come within the creation of the Morocco Business Committee?
Well, I think that what the committee is focused on is really trying to identify areas of strength in the Moroccan economy that can be leveraged in a way that creates more trade for Morocco. And I think that I've met some of the members who are on that committee. I think that they are very sharp and very brilliant business people. And I think working together, they can come up with some ideas that would be compelling.
Another issue with potential is the role of phosphate in the global food security. Is it the only sector where Morocco can play a role within the global value chain?
Well, it plays a significant role, and certainly in the phosphate chain, and fertilizers are important, and they will become increasingly important as we go forward. I've had the privilege of meeting with some executives of OCP, and I'm familiar with what their objectives are on the continent and beyond, and I think it's a very important role that they expect to play. With respect to other industries and opportunities, again, there's a question on the international scale of how do you create enough product to support a global sort of trade opportunity. And the question is whether you really need to be global or whether you need to be regional enough in a way that you can still create jobs, create the need for educated people, create some relationships with countries like we have with you in our free trade agreement. As
a former banker, what do you think are the other aspects or new aspects to develop cooperation in the banking system?
Well, I'm well aware of the objective of creating the Financial Services Center in Casablanca. And from my perspective, it makes perfect sense because Morocco is well positioned not just to provide finance and capital, legal services, accounting services in Morocco, but in sub-Saharan Africa as well. I think that Morocco is very well positioned to help with some countries that perhaps don't have as well developed of a financial services system. There's a lot of sophistication in the markets here, and I think that, again, consistent with His Majesty's vision, it's one of the aspects of Morocco's regional growth that could yield a lot of returns for Morocco.
Our two countries are old friends. How Your Excellency see this friendship in the future?
Yeah, it's very young and it's very old, right? I mean, we sit today at a point in time when the relationship has all the potential for being deeper, richer, more engaged. As I mentioned earlier, we have a very close relationship that goes from military to counterterrorism to education to trade to tourism to cross-border education and business activities. The relationship is very rich, and my expectation is that it will only get richer as we move forward. And I am very pleased to be here as a U.S. ambassador to Morocco at this most important time in the history of our relationship.
Excellency, thank you.
Thank you.
Voilà, donc nous venons de suivre cette interview exclusive avec son Excellence l'ambassadeur américain au Maroc, Monsieur Dwight Bush. Merci de votre attention.